But nothing really changes over the time we get. You don't really see true change. You just see little bits of swaying from one side to the other. And this is why when Andy Burnham gets in, there'll be this hype. There'll be this, oh, success is coming. Like I said, the speeches will be made. Everyone will get excited. Starmer's out. They'll make memes. They'll do all this business. But truly what will actually change? And I predict nothing will change. I predict they'll still be unhappy. Everyone will still be unhappy about immigration, about free speech. They'll still be happy about how much we're being taxed. We'll still be unhappy about how much things cost. There won't really be a solution that's been achieved. And that's sad, because you do get your hopes up when you get an election. You do get your hopes up when you hear this person. You know, I should be kind of proud that Andy Burnham's going to possibly be the Prime Minister, because I'm from Greater Manchester and he's sorting that out. But I'm not. It's sad, because you know he's going to go in there and fuck all's going to happen. He might have the best intentions, but everything changes when you get in there. That little man in the back room says you can't do what you want to do. And it's only going to keep getting worse if the system doesn't change. You can get riots, you can get protests, you can get people standing with flags everywhere. But there isn't going to be true change until the system changes. I mean, I could be talking absolute shit. What do I know? But that's what it feels like to me. That's why I don't think there can be this hype when Andy Burnham gets in. But you'll see it. You'll get an onslaught. They'll bring up some stuff he said in the past to try and cancel him. They'll bring up how he didn't do anything. They'll bring up how what he claims and says to be true isn't true. And they'll ridicule him. It's got to be the worst job in the world. Being a prime minister, being the person in charge, because you're not gonna win. There is no winning. Everyone hates the fuck out of you. And it is no wonder the right people aren't gonna be in the job, because the right people don't want to fucking deal with all this crap. Don't want to deal with it because it's an impossible task that we put ourselves in. And it's an impossible task, like I said, with the system we have. Thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking on the video. Just want to let you know that I also post on Spotify. If you want to check that out, if you don't end up finishing the video, you can listen on there. And I do the best bits from each video on TikTok, Instagram and Shorts. So check them out, link will be in the description. But yeah, enjoy. So today we're going to talk about Andy Burnham. We're going to go political again. And I have to start off with saying that it ain't my spot to talk about politics. It ain't my interest. I can't stand the topic. But I just know this is going to be the talk for the next couple of weeks and days and whatever. It is the 22nd of June when I'm filming this. And I've seen the first sort of clip today about it all, and I can't help but comment on it. And I could be wrong. I can be wrong in everything that I'm saying, but that's okay, because you just got to get those thoughts out there and have that debate and have that discussion. Whether I'm wrong or right, it doesn't really matter as long as there's a discussion. But we're going to talk about him today. I'm going to talk about the politics and talk about and be a bit pessimistic, to be fair, which I am always when it comes to politics, because it's a load of shit. And it's about how Keir Starmer's gonna step down and Andy Burnham's gonna come in. This talk. And Trump's tweeted that Keir Starmer is stepping down even before it's done. And I do believe he will step down or be replaced, whether it's stepping down or not. And then Andy Burnham's going to come in and the country's going to become great again. It's going to be this beautiful place that we live in, of course. And it's not going to be the shit that it is now. We're not going to have the same issues as we have now. It's going to be beautiful. That's what the hope is. And like I said, I'm going to be pessimistic and say nothing's going to change. The only thing that is going to change is how you view Labour. Because he's not going to come in and reverse things that Keir Starmer did. He might reverse a slight few, but he's still going to tax the people or upset the people that are upset right now. And he's probably not going to do anything to do with immigration, because they'll say, I've not got enough time for certain things or whatever. He'll probably avoid addressing certain things, and then you'll get some more chaotic events happening. You'll get more stabbings, more murders, more terrorism, or whatever you would call it. These tragic events that happen, you're going to get more of them. They're going to happen, and it's going to be more pressure on him, and everyone's going to hate him still. However, I'm going to predict that Labour will get in again because Andy Burnham is in. And the reason I say that is I think he's only been brought in to change public perception of Labour. All those things I just stated, I think, will be facts. And I think the perception will feel different than that. Like he's done a good job, or that he's better than Keir Starmer. And I think it's sad when it comes to politics, because it's Keir Starmer out, Andy Burnham in, not because we want Andy Burnham in, it's because we want Keir Starmer out. Same with the last Prime Minister and the Prime Minister before them. It's all about we want these people out, not we want someone in. And that's where my sort of disappointment is with politics. It's at such a low level of standard that you accept that there's no wonder everyone's not happy. Whether that's the truth or it's just social media and the pub and stuff, because like I always say, don't know if it's just my life and where I live and who I know, most of us are sane people. Most of us aren't really affected by things. Obviously, everything costs more. That affects us. But these politically correct subjects, I don't know, in my circles, in my life, doesn't affect me. Obviously, I probably have white privilege, so a lot of these issues aren't going to affect me. But then you look on TV and social media and the world's in chaos. And that's why I'm talking about it's just a perception that's going to change when Andy Burnham comes in. I think he'll do things that pleases both sides, which people will be happy with. And I think all this is a push so people don't vote Reform. So people vote Labour. I think it's just a push. I mean, it's still the same party. It's just a different figure. Everyone in Labour has caused the country to be how it is. And just by replacing one man who then, might replace a few others, that's going to suddenly change everything? And I always hear and see what's Andy Burnham actually done. And I'll be honest, I'm from Manchester. Well, Greater Manchester at least. And I haven't felt a difference. I haven't seen a difference. There's not this thing that stands out. And I think that's why I say politics is disappointing. Because for someone like me who doesn't pay attention to it, who only sees clips and certain videos and people talking about it and giving their opinions, I only see all what's going on there. I don't see it in the real world. I don't see prices of food dropping. I don't see the price of fuel dropping. These examples, I don't see everyone's opinions becoming great and saying, God, we got a great politician in. I think I did a video last month where I was talking about politics. And I was talking about name the last prime minister who would have it again, who you was happy with. And the majority of the comments that people made was Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill. Now, I'm not doubting that he was probably a good prime minister, but I have no fucking clue because it was that long ago. That was the only one people could agree with. How long ago was Winston Churchill, and how embarrassing is it that you have to go that far back to get a good prime minister? I'm not talking great, I'm not talking amazing, I'm talking good. One that we're all decently happy with, that we're satisfied with. That's why it's disappointing to me. And in a weird way, I almost don't blame the politicians. Because with the system that we've got, of course these people are going to be how they are. Because I think the system is designed in a way where they have pals who benefit, they benefit, and they can do really what they want without actually staying true to the word. They can lie because they know the system. And that's why I've always said the system needs to change. Now, change to what? I don't know. I'll be honest. And it's difficult to say what I'm saying when you haven't got the answer. But my point on that is there are many more intelligent people than me who sit around and politics is their thing day to day, is their full interest, who do it as a job, who's in that space, who can have an opinion, like I said, smarter than me, who can come up with a solution where we have a better system, where we can actually vote someone in that we want, rather than compromising and saying, well, yeah, we'll just have this geezer in because he's better than the last guy. Because the last guy was awful, we just want this last guy out. It's what the narrative always seems to be, that the last guy that was in did an awful job, so let's vote him. And then you have these candidates that you vote for, and it's always, well, I'm voting for Labour because I don't want the Conservative leader in. I'm voting Reform because I don't want the Labour leader in. Or I'm voting Reform because I want the immigration sorted out. But I guarantee you, if Reform gets in, you're gonna have an issue somewhere else that might take money off you to deal with the immigration. They might tax you more, they might do this, might do that. The country might be in financial ruin because there's so much focus on immigration. I don't know. I'm not smart enough and involved enough to know all the details, but I guarantee if Reform got in, you still wouldn't be happy. You'd be happy maybe on one idea if they followed through on that idea. But again, don't get too obsessed with sticking with this one party that you think's gonna solve everything when you've almost never had a politician who stayed true to the word and actually solved the issues they said they were going to solve. Now, they'll come out with statistics and facts and data to persuade and to smooth things over to say they have, but you know realistically whether they have or not in the world. I think it's quite simple to see results, to see, obviously you've got perspective and opinions, but I think you can all agree when you see a result or not of whatever they're doing. And it fascinates me because there's going to be this story of Burnham getting in and how it's going to change things, and he's going to come out and they're going to give speeches. But at the end of the day, I think making change is more difficult than they always think. I think that's why, one, they lie. Because they don't know the facts, they don't know the data, they don't know the real situation. Which I believe, don't say shit when you don't know the full situation. Or be a little bit hesitant, like I'm being a bit hesitant here. I get it, I'm not in that circle, in that system to know truly what's going on. So these are general remarks. But when it comes to something as serious as politics, making promises, that's all you got to do, I think, as a politician to be successful. Make promises and fulfill them. Because you've got it. If the promises you're making got you in, all you have to do is fulfill them. Sure, there are going to be more problems that arise, but you'll still be a good politician if you just say what you're going to do and do it. It's that simple, but every politician that gets in says what they're going to do and then doesn't really do it. And that's what it's going to be with Burnham gets in. It's going to be the speeches. It's going to be calming things down. It's going to be getting the people that voted Labour in originally back on the same page to vote them in again for the next person to come in and not be happy with. And it would be the same if it was Conservative. It would be the same if it was Reform. This is why I don't vote, because there's not going to be a change when it comes to this system. There has to be a change. There has to be a different way to run everything. There's too many people to run it with the system that we've got. The world is now too big, too developed to have this same system in place. Things have to change because the world's changing. And you're going to make sure when this system changes, if it ever does, I mean, you have to have hope that it will. You've got to make sure it doesn't change even worse, because it can. Because if something like that changed, the system changed, there are going to be people that are going to try and get the claws in and manipulate it into a way that benefits them. But I think we can all agree this system doesn't work because you vote someone in, like I said, that you don't actually want in. It's a democracy, but it's not really, because you don't have a say in who the leader is. You don't have a say. You don't get to choose. What's the result if you don't vote if you don't vote anyone in, if you don't want any of them in? What happens? Is there something that happens? Is it a possibility? Could everyone get on the same page and go, listen, you've all tried your best, but all of yous are fucked. We don't want any of yous in that you've got in the leader of your parties. So either switch them up and switch your ideas up to give us something that we actually want and that actually works. And as I said before, these people could come in and bring leaders in, bring managers in, that run things that have no idea what they're doing. In a sense that they're not experienced. Someone in the NHS, how far can you go up the chain? Who's at the top? Does a nurse ever get to the top? Does someone who's actually worked in it, a doctor, get to the top? And is that top the health secretary? And why is it not? Why has that health secretary not got a shit ton of experience in the role to know what they're talking about, to know what the NHS is like, to know what they're actually dealing with? Because me and you, the general public, that's what we have to do to get a decent job, to go up the ranks. We have to get experience. And for businesses to run successfully, we have to have experience. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of experience to be at the top, to truly know what you're doing, to do the right things. But if you put someone who's not actually experienced the full situation of whatever they're leading, how do they run it smoothly? Unless they employ people that know what they're doing and they're good managers. You can have that in a sense. If you've got a good workforce, but it doesn't seem like these people know how to run things. How many of them have had successful businesses where they've actually done it? And I could be getting it wrong, there could be more to it. But why does it always seem like it goes wrong? Why is there always this feeling that it's wrong, that it's gone tits up, that it's not working. There's always this feeling. Everyone's never happy. Now, whether you can get everyone happy, maybe that's the issue. But maybe that's a sign that something's wrong. That something's going on. Maybe the reality of everything isn't pushed truly. One side is led to believe something that's not true, and the other side is also led to believe something's not the reality of the situation. And no one wants to upset people. I have to give it to Trump. At least he's willing to upset people. But no one in this country in charge is willing to say the shit that upsets everyone. Everyone has to be pally-pally. Everyone has to play the game to get to the top. And that's what they want. They want to get to the top, so they play the game. No one wants to risk anything. You've got to stay silent. You can't kick up a fuss, otherwise you'll be kicked out. And this is what I'm talking about. The system's wrong. The system in place isn't built to thrive, isn't built for success. Maybe because whoever's managing it all behind the scenes, maybe, if there is someone, doesn't want it to be that way. But nothing really changes over the time we get. You don't really see true change. You just see little bits of swaying from one side to the other. And this is why when Andy Burnham gets in, there'll be this hype. There'll be this, success is coming. Like I said, the speeches will be made. Everyone will get excited. Starmer's out. They'll make memes. They'll do all this business. But truly what will actually change? And I predict nothing will change. I predict they'll still be unhappy. Everyone will still be unhappy about immigration, about free speech. They'll still be happy about how much we're being taxed. We'll still be unhappy about how much things cost. There won't really be a solution that's been achieved. And that's sad, because you do get your hopes up when you get an election. You do get your hopes up when you hear this person. I should be kind of proud that Andy Burnham's going to possibly be the Prime Minister, because I'm from Greater Manchester and he's sorting that out. But I'm not. It's sad, because he's going to go in there and fuck all's going to happen. He might have the best intentions, but everything changes when you get in there. That little man in the back room says you can't do what you want to do. And it's only going to keep getting worse if the system doesn't change. You can get riots, you can get protests, you can get people standing with flags everywhere. But there isn't going to be true change until the system changes. I mean, I could be talking absolute shit. What do I know? But that's what it feels like to me. That's why I don't think there can be this hype when Andy Burnham gets in. But you'll see it. You'll get an onslaught. They'll bring up some stuff he said in the past to try and cancel him. They'll bring up how he didn't do anything. They'll bring up how what he claims and says to be true isn't true. And they'll ridicule him. It's got to be the worst job in the world. Being a Prime Minister. Being the person in charge, because you're not going to win. There is no winning. Everyone hates the fuck out of you. And it is no wonder the right people aren't going to be in the job, because the right people don't want to fucking deal with all this crap. Don't want to deal with it because it's an impossible task that we put ourselves in. And it's an impossible task, like I said, with the system we have. That's what I think. But yeah, we'll see it over the coming weeks and whatever. How it'll build up to be such a great thing. And then they'll go through the flow. How they'll then criticise his first decision, his second decision, and then by the end of the term, you won't have made any change, but there'll be a big hype. There'll be a new person that comes in that says you're going to change everything, and then they'll get in, and it'll be this cycle, this repetitive cycle of fuck all happening. And it is pessimistic, but that's how I feel about politics, and that's why I've got no interest in it, because you just have no hope that something's going to change. There's not this person that you can rally to. There's not this person that fills you with hope, that fills you with, you know what, this could actually change here. We could seriously do some change and make everyone happy, or as many as we can. We can care for people and not go too far left and too far right and go on these extremes to bring people in and get attention and get views and create this chaos. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Peace.